radiallahu anhu. Its sort of introduction was the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu takes the credit. It all began there. There were Christian Arab allies to the Byzantines. The Byzantines are the Romans, Europeans. Today, their offsprings are the British and even America, even Australians, they're the offspring of them. But in those days, the Byzantines, with the Roman king Heraclius or Hercules, they had an ally. Christian Arabs were their allies at that time. And they had a peace treaty with Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, who was the Khalifa. They broke this peace treaty. When they broke the peace treaty, it meant that they became a threat to the Muslims. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu summoned an army to go and face them. As a result, the Byzantines, they sent a huge army against the Muslims, which began one of the greatest wars. The Muslims were 6,000 soldiers, and the Byzantines were 300,000 soldiers. 6,000 against 300,000, which was called the Battle of Yarmouk, on the borders of Syria, in the area today called Julan. Have you heard of it? Al-Julan. By the leadership of Khalid ibn Walid radiyallahu anhu. And Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah was with him. Abu Ubaidah, Amr ibn al-Jarrah, Amin hadhihi al-Ummah, the trustworthy of this Ummah, as the Prophet ﷺ named him. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu gave the leadership to Khalid ibn Walid, even though Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah had command first. And this is what Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu sent to Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah in his letter. First he sent it to Khalid ibn Walid. I want you now to focus on the type of leadership these people were, and the type of soldiers these people were, and the type of people these companions and these Muslims were as our example, and why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them victory. 6,000 against 300,000. They massacred them. They massacred them in 6 days. Gone. Until Heraclius fled and went and hid in Antiochia in Syria, because the Romans were all over Bilad As-Sham. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu sent a letter to Khalid ibn Walid. He said, after praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sending prayers upon the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, I have assigned you, O Khalid, the position of General Commander. Then he sent a letter to Abu Ubaidah Amr ibn al-Jarrah. After praising Allah, sending his messenger, prayers upon the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, listen to the way he said it, from Abu Bakr ibn Quhafa. He didn't say from Amir al-Mu'mineen, from the king of all kings, from this and that, the president of so and no. From Abu Bakr ibn Quhafa to Abu Ubaidah Amr ibn al-Jarrah, equaling him to his standard. This is where it starts. He said, I have assigned Khalid as general commander in your place. And this is only because he has more military skill and experience than you, O Abu Ubaidah. However, you are better to me than him. وَأَنْتَ خَيْرٌ إِلَيَّ مِنْهُ. You are better to me than him. And may Allah make us all successful in his path. Allah. These were the true leaders and these were the true people. How did Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah react to that? And how did Khalid ibn Walid react to that? Did Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah go and make a military revolution? How dare he, and I'm going to take over the khilafah, and I'm going to be the king or the president, and no. He went, Khalid ibn Walid came up to him and said, O Abu Ubaidah, Allah knows your position to me and your value, for it will never go less than that. Khalid ibn Walid said that to Abu Ubaidah. And he said, forgive me, but I have been assigned, and you remain my honor. Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah was patient and said, I am behind you as a soldier. And there goes Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, a soldier like everyone else, because they are in the path and cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After the battle of Yarmouk, they went off into Syria by the command of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And the first battle was in Damascus. In that time, Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhu was in Damascus, the commander there. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu died, and Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu took over the khilafah. Umar radiallahu anhu sent a letter to Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, and he said to him, After praising Allah, sending prayers unto His Messenger, O Abu Ubaidah, I have now assigned you to be the new general commander of the army. So he took it away from Khalid bin Walid and gave it to him. There is wisdom behind it. However, he gave it to Abu Ubaidah. What did Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah do with the letter? Wallahi, he did not reveal it to anyone. He waited until the battle in Damascus was over. And after the battle was over and the Muslims were victorious, Khalid ibn Walid found out the secret, and he came to Abu Ubaidah in the tent and said to him the following words: غَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَكَ يَا أَبَا عُبَيْدَةَ. May Allah forgive you, Abu Ubaidah. You let me be the general commander and you as a soldier under me, while I prayed Imam and you are behind me, and you had received the letter to be assigned in my place. Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah said, غَفَرَ اللَّهُ لَكَ يَا Khalid. May Allah forgive you, Khalid. He said, I only hid the letter because I knew that you were doing a good job and I didn't want to cut off the army straight away. And I wanted it to be in the most respectful way to you. There is none of this pride and arrogance and wanting to none of this power struggle. This is how the Prophet ﷺ trained these men. Damascus was opened at the same time that Palestine was opened, and the four commanders, Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah, Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhuma, Shurahbil, and also Amr ibn al-As. Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu went commanding in Palestine, and the rest were separated. One in Damascus by Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhu. How did he enter it? Very quickly. Heraclius, as Tabari explains, he had a newborn son, and he was heavily fortified. Khalid bin Walid was very smart. He waited until they celebrated the coming of the newborn son of Heraclius. They began to drink and they got drunk. The soldiers got drunk. And then what happened? Khalid ibn Walid entered at that time. As soon as he entered, the people began to surrender. Halfway through the battle, Heraclius heard about Amr ibn al-As taking over Palestine, Jerusalem. And he picked up his baggage and he said his famous statement, Wada'an ya Suriya, farewell O Syria, I shall never see you after this day. What happened after Damascus? Umar ibn Khattab said, go to Hims, a place called Hims. And they took over Hims. What happened after Hims? They went to a place called Fihl, which is in East Jordan, and they took over Fihl, bi'idhnillah. Then what happened? They took over Jerusalem almost at the same time. But how? As soon as they entered it and the people surrendered, they gave them their privilege to practice their religion. They made a contract between them. In exchange, they asked the people, they told the people to pay them something called a jizya, which is a type of, you can say something equivalent to a tax, but under Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's command. In exchange, the Muslims protected them, and it was considered jihad to fight in protecting these people, who were once their enemies. They left their churches. They left if there were synagogues, they left them. They gave them their rights to their own court system. They even administered and helped them in practicing their Bible teachings and practice their Bible laws. I want to go to Palestine for a minute because I love the story in there. Amr ibn al-As entered Palestine, and it was easily handed over to them when Heraclius left Syria. What happened? The governor of Palestine, the Roman commander or governor of Palestine, he gathered all the men around him, and they said, we need to hand over the keys to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a very valuable place to us, but we refuse to give it to just an underdog. That's what they said, like someone who is just a commander. This key has to be given to the Khalifa, the leader of the Muslims. So Amr ibn al-As sent a letter to Umar radiallahu anhu saying, they will only give you the key, O Amir al-Mu'mineen. Some narrations say that it was written in their scriptures, the description of the type of man who was to receive it. And Amr ibn al-As said to them, Palestine has been written for me, and the keys need to be handed to me. And they said, we will only give it to your leader. And this is how the leader entered. Umar radiallahu anhu, the one who used to sleep under a tree with safety, And when one of the Persian kings saw him, he looked at him and he had no guards around him. He said, surely you commanded and led in justice, so you reached safety. And because of this safety, you prospered. Because of your justice, you prospered. Umar ibn al-Khattab comes into Jerusalem, and this is how he enters. He had a servant. A servant. In those days, he had slaves, it was universal. But they were like friends. And he had a camel. No guards, just them three. The camel, the servant, and Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. On their way into Jerusalem, Umar radiallahu anhu was so just that he said to his servant, we will split the share. A third of the way, or a part of the way, I will sit on the camel. A part of the way, you will sit on the camel, and the other third part will let the camel walk along on its own. They kept on exchanging like that because of his fairness and justice. When they arrived to Jerusalem, guess what? It happened to be that his servant was on his camel. Amir al-Mu'mineen walking the camel while his servant is on it, and he had more than 17 patches around on his garment. The people came, and it is said by Tabari that the Christians of Jerusalem, they were on the roofs and the balconies, and they could see this amazing sight, and it said that some of them were crying at this sight. They had never seen something like this before. And they handed over the key to Amir al-Mu'mineen Umar radiallahu anhu. Abu Ubayd ibn al-Jarrah approached Umar straight away. He looked at his features and he said to him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, look at the way you're dressed. These people, they're about show. You should have dressed a little bit more presentable, so that they know that we Muslims, we've got technology and we look after our leaders. And Umar radiallahu anhu said to him, oh, Ya Abu Ubayd,